She's hot to go, she's ready. She's hot to go right now. She's hot to go, you got to know. Let's stop and do it, girl. I don't have no liquor shop.
The lady with her hair on fire is on the air. America thinks it. Barbara says it.
Hi, this is Barbara, KFNX 1100 News Talk Radio. I'm on the air with my co-host, Randy Pullen, and our guest, David Norcross, is on the line from Virginia. It is his second time around. You know, and love gets better the second time around, David.
If you say so, Barbara.
And I have to let you in on a little secret, sorta. Sunday was my birthday, and I'm now old enough to date.
Happy birthday. Let's start.
And Randy has brought me a birthday present. He assures me that it's not electronic or battery operated. So I have to see what it is.
Are you opening it now?
Yes, I am. And you're going to love it. It's a book. And it's blank, and it's called On Bullshit. No, it's not blank.
Of course it's not blank.
It's On Bullshit. And I don't know if he means that I'm bullshit or not.
No, I think you're an expert, Barbara. I think you're very good at detecting bullshit. And I think you could write a new chapter to this book, actually.
Takes one to know one, Pullen.
Yes, it does. And he gave me a really nice birthday card that says, "Be happiness itself." Buddha. Buddha was chubby. I don't like that part. Barbara, be the birthday. Happy birthday, Randy. Isn't that sweet of him, David?
It certainly is. I feel badly I didn't know.
Well, now you know, and I accept late gifts.
And she likes playing, too.
Thank you. Speaking of gifts, thank you for the bumper stickers, Barbara.
Well, I'm glad you liked them. Were they spelled correctly? Because I sent some to another David, and he told me they didn't spell one of the words correct.
Well, if they didn't, I missed it. Looked right to me.
Well, good. Then if you didn't catch it, then I'm in good shape. And
right.
While we were waiting for all these commercials and all this music to go and all of that, Randy and I have solved the deficit. Y'all don't have to worry.
Fine.
Y'all don't have to worry about it anymore.
Okay. You're going to share it? You're going to share it?
Well, we're going to let Randy start. I sent you our press release on our billboard signs that was put up around town.
Right.
Well, today the city of Phoenix told me I need to take them down.
Really?
Yes. But I think we have a solution. But in case we don't, I may need a good attorney to get me out.
Well, I'm sure I can find one.
Okay, good. Now we're going to talk serious about the deficit, and I'm going to read my bullshit book.
Well, yeah, don't you think it was very appropriate, though, some of the stuff we heard today? We had the president telling Boehner, "Don't call my bluff," and if that's not bullshit, I don't know what it is.
I'd call his bluff.
They keep telling us we can't.
We can't say it. It's bull crap, isn't it? Bull crap. We got to change the name of the book.
Are you guys getting bleeped every time you say that?
Oh yeah, we're getting bleeped.
No, all he does is look at us and laugh and say you can't say it, but he lets us keep doing it.
He's bleeping it.
Okay. Well, Martin Halpern wishes he had a quicker bleeper like you do.
Well, he just needs to come get on our radio show. It's much more professional.
Yeah, Randy's got the quickest bleeper in Phoenix.
So where are we, David, on all this? I mean, there's been so much said about this deficit and the extending the debt cap, and it just goes on and on and on. And now we have McConnell has a new approach to it, which I thought was bizarre, to say the least. Basically turning it over to President Obama to decide if he needed more, an increase in the debt limit. We have Obama's still pushing. It's up to $1.7 trillion. Republicans want $2.4 trillion for the kind of like the small grand deal. So where's this all headed, David? What are your thoughts as a very experienced Washington D.C. in the area? I shouldn't say you don't live there. You're in the area though. You spend some time.
Right. I'm south of the river in God's country. I'll tell you, within the last 24 to 36 hours, it seems to me that there is a growing recognition that they've got to find a solution. I was at a lunch yesterday where Majority Leader Cantor spoke, and he pointed out something that had sort of been missing from the debate until very recently, and that is that in August there's a big rollover of our debt. And even if we are able to continue to pay the debt in the near term, there will be an auction on that debt, and we don't know what our failure to raise the debt limit, we don't know what the impact of that will be on the auction, which means that interest prices might go up precipitously, and that would put us in worse position than we are. And I think that is probably why McConnell came up with something that is definitely out thinking outside the box, but I think that's probably why he threw something else into the mix. The trouble here is that the president doesn't have any idea how to negotiate. If he wants to negotiate, and I'm not sure that he does, he's made it clear that he doesn't know how to do it.
Well, I should send him a copy of this book because he really needs it, I think.
You're not getting my book to give to him. No way.
I don't think he needs it. I think it comes naturally for him. He hasn't put anything really on the table.
That's why he has brown eyes, David.
Which so do I.
All the way up to the top of his head.
Yeah, I agree. I've been told that. But he has no idea how to negotiate. I mean, today to get up and stalk out of the room saying, "Don't call my bluff," that's not how you negotiate.
That's not how adults negotiate. That's not how experienced negotiators negotiate. But that's certainly the way my kids negotiate. That's for sure. I've heard that once or twice.
And he doesn't know any better because he doesn't have any experience. What's he know about negotiating? He never negotiated anything. There's a fellow around here who writes a blog called Mullings, and if you don't get it, you ought to go look for it. He had a piece today. He writes 3 days a week, and his piece today was that Obama's got two positions to negotiate. One petulant, the other's arrogant.
And he goes back and forth between the two, and you can tell it by. And he never says anything really substantive in his speeches. It's always platitudes. It's always stuff that really doesn't help the situation. But what do we do with these Democrats who say there's no way they're ever going to vote for anything that's going to impact entitlements? I mean, that's half the problem, or two-thirds of the problem anyway, that until we get entitlements under control, we're never going to get this budget under control.
I disagree with that. I think one of the major things that you need to get under control is foreign aid and subsidies. And I think if you do those two things and quit giving your tax dollars to 152 countries out of 190 for absolutely nothing and supporting the UN, you'd have money for your entitlements if you want them.
Well, you'd have more money, but, I mean, entitlements basically make up 60% of the budget every year. And don't forget, how much are we falling short on the budget in terms of what's our, we're only paying for 60% with tax revenues. The other 40% is being paid for with debt. So, right. I mean, so essentially, if you subtract out and said we're not going to run up any more debt, essentially what you'd be saying, the only thing we could pay for would be the existing entitlements right now.
And interest.
and interest. That's
which is the genius of what McConnell, at least where his thinking is going, is that the only way we solve the problem that you're pointing out, Randy, is we've got to have somebody new in the White House. And what McConnell's plan does is gives Obama and the Democrats total ownership of any increase in debt between now and the election. And McConnell said a couple of months ago, sort of as an aside, I don't think we can solve any of these problems with this guy in the White House. We got to beat him. And what McConnell is trying to do, I think, is set him up.
Well, I understand what he's trying to do. I just think that's kind of convoluted. Given the fact that he's gone on record now as saying that he will veto a short-term increase. I mean, give him a short-term increase, because basically if he vetoes it, he's just basically shooting himself in the foot, because if no one else will be taking responsibility for it other than him at that point.
I posted today a video of Obama saying that now is not the time to raise the taxes. He's talking about raising them in 2013 or 2014. So if you vote for Obama, you can be rest assured that he's going to raise the taxes, because he's already said so.
Absolutely. He is a socialist Democrat.
Well, there's no question about that. So, looking at all the different options that are available, what do you think is the most likely option that will be taken come August 2nd?
Well, I was going to say either short term or McConnell or some variation of that. And I kind of doubt that he will veto a short term debt limit increase. Everybody's talking about kicking the can down the road. I'm getting tired of hearing that.
Right.
But
I think
it isn't.
But I think what McConnell said is correct. I don't think we can really begin to solve this problem until we get a different person in the White House. Until then, it's basically at loggerheads. We had a similar problem in Arizona. We solved it. We had supermajorities, Republican majorities in the House and the Senate, and a Republican governor, and a Republican in every other statewide elected office. And we got some things done, and we now have a budget that's effectively balanced in Arizona, because we have to balance the budget. But it wasn't easy.
David, stay on with us. We've got an email question from a lady. We're getting ready to take a short break. We'll be right back with David Norcross, Randy Pullen, and moi. Our call-in numbers are 602-277-5369, 1-866-536-1100. See you in a few.
Shall we wash all my cares away? I wake up to a sunny day, 'cause I love the rainy. She's hot to go, she's ready. She's hot to go right now. She's hot to go, you got to know. Let's stop and do it, girl. I don't have no liquor shop.
The lady with her hair on fire is on the air. America thinks it. Barbara says it.
Hi, this is Barbara. We're back with David Norcross and Randy Pullen, and I have a little bit of my birthday present for you guys. I think all of you should hear this, especially you, David. I think you'll be able to use it someday. One of the most salient features of our culture is that there is so much bull blank. Everyone knows this. Each of us contributes his share, but we tend to take the situation for granted. Most people are rather confident of their ability to recognize bull blank and to avoid being taken in by it. Now, he picked up this book, read this first paragraph, and decided it was for me. Isn't that sweet?
Hey, if we're so good at detecting bull blank, how come we got this guy in the White House?
I voted for the white guy.
Me too.
Well, as we like to say to the left now, you proved you weren't racist by voting for Obama. Now prove you're not stupid.
That's his bumper sticker.
That's the bumper sticker.
It says, except it said, prove you're not an idiot, didn't it?
Yes.
All right. Now, our email question is, I am wondering what if the Republicans called Obama's bluff on the Social Security and military pay, what Obama would do, because the time word got out, he would be tarred and feathered before he could get to Georgetown.
I'm inclined to agree. Nobody in their right mind would do that, but, this is the man who would be king. I don't really trust what he would do. Because the thing with, nobody in their right mind would do that, but this is a guy who maybe just wants to drive us over a cliff so that we become a society that is completely reliant on government, and maybe he doesn't care how he gets us there.
Well, don't you think there are limitations, though? I mean, there are ways to get rid of a president in the Constitution.
Well, I don't see much life in the Senate that I would think would vote to remove him. Although I did see today that a couple of senators have introduced a bill to require that the military be paid and that Social Security be paid.
Correct.
And didn't they also introduce one for a balanced budget amendment?
I don't know if they've introduced that. They keep talking about that, but that won't get many Democrat votes in the House. It could certainly pass the House. I don't know where that goes in the Senate. It takes 2/3, so it's not likely that we get that.
Well, David,
that would be a decent solution.
Yeah, David, what's the likelihood? And we've discussed this a little bit, that Obama just kind of goes his own way and just spends the money and just effectively raises the debt limit himself without dealing with Congress at all.
By executive order?
By executive order.
I don't think he can do that. There is the 14th Amendment has language in it which some people about a week ago began to point out as a way for him to ignore Congress and simply do it by executive order. But if you notice, that whole line of argument has disappeared. And I think it disappeared because everybody realized that it was on very shaky ground and that it would precipitate a constitutional crisis as bad as the debt limit crisis. So I think that one has gone away. I looked at it fairly closely. Randy, you and I exchanged some emails on it, Barbara, too. I don't think that the amendment, it's the 14th Amendment, and it was designed to protect against the South taking control of Congress and disavowing the debt from the Civil War. This is an entirely different situation, and I don't think it holds water. So I think he's got to deal with Congress.
So I think what we're back to then is the real choices are something along the lines of McConnell introduced, which I don't see that going very far, or just doing short-term increases in order to get by. And I can't imagine at the end of the day he actually vetoes that, but I guess that could happen. If he does that, then we know what's going to happen in November, on November 6th, 2012.
But
the short-term increases are liable to roil the markets too, don't you think?
Well, I was thinking if you do the short-term increases, it destabilizes the stock market, also the International Monetary Fund, and then they're talking about downgrading your creditability. So
right.
If you do it on a short-term basis, won't you be facing all of that?
Well, I think that's probably why McConnell does it in 3 shots. That gives you what? That's roughly 6 months every 6 months you'd have to raise it again. And that probably does not disrupt the markets or upset the credit raters as much as trying to do it, every month or every 2 months. But some kind of, and Randy, the McConnell thing is a kind of short-term debt limit increase. It's just it makes him do it unilaterally, giving Congress the opportunity to vote it down, and really puts the Democrats in a tough spot in the Senate.
But if you did something like that, wouldn't it behoove you to put a cap on how much he could raise the debt limit each time? Because if you just gave him carte blanche, he could raise it by trillions of dollars with.
No, the McConnell plan does limit how much he can raise it. That's why it takes 3 times to get him to election.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact language because, as Randy says, it's kind of convoluted. But the purpose of the language is to restrict the amount by which he can raise the debt limit each time.
But now this is the second or third time since he's been president that they've come in and asked for the debt limit to be raised?
I think they've already done it 3 times.
Yeah.
Since he's been president?
Since he's been president.
I didn't think it was that. I didn't think it was more than twice, but I'm not.
Well,
sure.
I said 2 or 3 times because remember when Geithner came up and said, if you don't raise the debt limit, the world's going to come to an end and we're all going to fall into the ocean.
Well, you're not confusing this with the continuing resolution, are you? Continuing resolution to fund the government. Not to pay the debt, fund the government. We went through that in March.
I may be. I did have a birthday.
It's the same kind of thing, but the continuing resolution funds the government. The debt limit funds a rapacious appetite for overspending.
Okay.
Did you see where he said the other day that he really didn't like talking about this stuff. He wanted to talk about new programs and stuff people like.
I thought you want to talk about the NFL lockout.
All he wants to do is fundraise, is really all he wants to do. I did a post on his fundraising abilities today. And
they're awesome.
Well, yeah. $86 million they've raised in 3 months. So why should he be worried about the debt limit? Why doesn't he just pay it?
Let me ask you this, David. What?
We got 1 minute.
Out of time here, but let's think about it in terms of we're either going to get a short-term or a McConnell fix. What does that do to the Republican Party? What does that do to the Tea Party? And how do we deal with it?
Well, there's some education got to go on with the Tea Party. They've got to come to grips with how serious this problem is. And I said that from the beginning that I was sensing here that more people were beginning to understand that this was really a serious problem.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Stay tuned with David.
We'll hit that after the break.
We're selling something again.
Shampoo wash all my cares away. I wake up to a sunny day 'cause I love the rainy. She's hot to go, she's ready. She's hot to go right now. She's hot to go, you got to know. Let's stop and do it, girl. I don't have no liquor shop.
The lady with her hair on fire is on the air. America thinks it. Barbara says it.
Hi, this is Barbara. This is KFNX 1100 News Talk Radio. I'm on the air with Randy Pullen, my co-host, and our esteemed guest that is here for the second time, David Norcross, back by popular demand. David? I told you that if you weren't married, I was going to move and stalk you. I mean, you know, so that you're back by popular demand.
I told my wife that. She said I could only get as close as the radio.
Is she? Well, you know, some people are narrow-minded.
Right.
Our call-in number is 602-277-5369, 1-866-536-1100. You and Randy were discussing how to pay for the world.
Well, what we were specifically on how the Tea Party is going to react if we get a short-term solution to this. First of all, Randy, if there is no tax increase, they really should understand that given the circumstances, that is a major accomplishment. They also need to realize that the government is made up of the House, the Senate, and the President. The President holds most of the cards, and we've only got one of the three. Frankly, I think, given the fact that we have only the House, that our leadership's doing a pretty good job of keeping this clown at bay. But it's hard, particularly when the media just swoons over him. I mean, last weekend when he went into his, whatever that diatribe was about, I can't remember one fulmination from another from him, but the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the Los Angeles Times the next day, you'd have thought that he was the second coming. So this makes it very hard, and I just hope our Tea Party friends understand how hard it is.
Well, what I'm hearing, what's being said now and being quoted is that Tea Party leaders are saying, some of them are saying, that if Republicans blink and they allow the debt limit to go up and they don't get spending cuts as part of that deal, that you better look out because the Tea Party is going to come take over the Republican Party. That's what they're saying.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I don't mind I don't mind having them in the party. I don't mind having them in leadership. As a matter of fact, the more into leadership they get, the more they will understand how complicated it is to deal with these things.
Except the Tea Party isn't made up of just Republicans. It's made up of Democrats, Independents, Green Party, Socialists. It's made up of all political parties.
All the better. I doubt there's many socialists in there, Barbara, but...
I was being nice. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. Give me a break.
Good Lord, don't ruin your reputation.
After all, it is her birthday show tonight.
Well, I guess she can say what she wants. But they do need to have some... they don't have to, but it would be nice if they would understand how difficult this problem is and that controlling one house does not make you the government. And what they really need to do is what McConnell is saying and get to busy getting rid of this guy in the White House. That's really the only solution. I mean, the best that we're going to get is sort of stopgap victories and holding the line. It seems to me like he's taken the spending cuts pretty much off the table now.
Well, I think that's kind of sounds like what's going on. But, you know, going back to getting this problem solved, which we do need to get it solved. We do need to get the spending under control. And that's going to take some real effort and some heavy lifting. How do we do that unless we have effectively 60 senators in the Senate to shut off and force a vote?
Well, it looks like we need a president and 13 more senators.
No, we need 15 because you can't count the 2 Arizonans.
Well, one of them we don't know who it's going to be, but...
Right.
But the other one, there's some truth in that.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
But that's
you get no disagreement from me on that. Although I must say that the 47 have been hanging together pretty well in the last month or so.
They have. They've actually hung together very well after the election, and that's commendable that they've done that. But again, McConnell's point is well taken. We're not going to get any solution as long as this individual is the president. We need a different president. And then, two, we're going to need the votes in the Senate to get it pushed through and get it done. And it's going to be it's heavy lifting. You know that, David. There's going to be some oxes gored before it's all over. There's going to be some unhappy people. But I don't know another solution to it. It's like a business. I'm a businessman. You've been in the business side. You got to stop the bleeding. When you're bleeding to death, you got to stop the bleeding, which means we've got to raise the debt limit. We don't have much choice on that. But once you get that settled, then you start looking for the long-term fixes that will fix the problem, and so you don't start bleeding again.
And you cannot fix the problem without dealing with the entitlements. The refusal to deal with Social Security is, to me, mind-boggling. That is not a difficult fix. Raising the age of eligibility is a no-brainer.
I have no problem with that. I would allow that date to increase. I'm getting closer and closer to that date, but if it moves further, I could understand that, and I would understand that.
There's not been any proposal, Randy, that would affect you.
Well, when the age was set at 65 and the average age was 63 when you died, it worked pretty well.
Right. But what I'm saying is that Ryan's proposal, nobody would be affected who is now 55.
Exactly. It would be a long-term fix, and the other thing is though, but Ryan's proposals don't fix our problem, because if you look at Ryan's proposals, it adds almost another $10 trillion to our debt ceiling. That's not fixing the problem. It's a start, but it's really, if people think the Ryan proposal was harsh, they aren't even close to understanding what the reality is here.
Well, that's what's so scary. I mean, the numbers on approval numbers on Ryan's budget are not very good, and not even 50% of Republicans approve of it. It discourages me. I don't know how you solve the problem if nobody can accept any kind of rational solution. And this is exactly what Obama and Pelosi and the Democrat socialists want. They want everybody so dependent on government largesse that they won't accept any pain whatsoever. Until, of course, the whole thing crashes down around their ears like Greece and Portugal and Spain and now maybe Italy and Ireland.
But everybody keeps talking about government's largesse. It's not government. It's us. We're the one that's paying it. Government earns no money except what they can script from us.
I think you had the word right, strip.
Strip. I mean, I got carried away.
It's worse than that, really. I mean, I thought you were going to say the problem is us. The problem is that there are too many people who want all this stuff.
Well, everybody would like to have something for free, but unfortunately, nothing's really free. Somebody has to pay for it eventually. And one of the ways they could raise revenue is the 40% of the people that don't pay any taxes. Let them start paying something. Let them contribute.
Well, I think everybody ought to have skin in the game. I think you ought to pay $5 in taxes. If you make whatever you make, you ought to pay $5.
Maybe we could just start by not writing them a check.
I like Randy's idea. Randy and David, Hang on, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back with a big solution. This is Barbara, KFNX 1100 News Talk Radio. Our call-in numbers are 602-277-5369, 1-866-536-1100. You can email us a question at haironfire@q.com.
Shall we wash all my cares away? I wake up to a sunny day 'cause I love the rainy night. She's hot to go, she's ready. She's hot to go right now. She's hot to go, you got to know. Let's stop and do it, girl. I don't have no liquor shop.
The lady with her hair on fire is on the air. America thinks it. Barbara says it.
Hi, this is Barbara. This is KFNX 1100 News Talk Radio. Our call-in numbers are 602-277-5369 and 1-866-536-1100. We're with David Norcross and with my co-host Randy Pullen. And David, I have a question for you since I've been so quiet and demure this whole program. Randy just looked up like he's going to, have a heart attack here. Has anybody ever thought about sitting down and doing a business plan for the government, a short term and a long term? Because actually it is a business. It isn't a organization, a charitable organization.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to do that every year.
They don't do that anymore.
The Senate Democrats haven't passed a budget in 2 years. But yes, Barbara, they're supposed to do that every year.
I'm not talking about passing a budget. I'm talking about sitting down and saying, okay, we give 152 countries money out of 190. We're not going to give these countries money anymore. We're not going to support the UN. We're going to sell that building. A business plan that says, okay, we're going to keep doing this and we're not going to do this. We're not going to pay people not to grow corn. We're not going to pay...
That's what the budget's supposed to do.
Well, they don't ever. Then they've never done it because they keep giving the money away.
Well, they keep putting the money. Number one, they keep putting the money in the budget. Number two, they don't follow their budget. So it isn't a matter of whether somebody's doing a business plan. It's having the will to follow the budget or the business plan that you develop. And they don't have it, and they don't have that will, and that's why we're in the fix we're in. They spent Social Security trust fund money. They spend everything that they can get their hands on, which is why the Tea Party and Boehner and Cantor are right. If you give them money, they'll spend it and more.
Didn't they take the money for the Social Security out of a trust fund? Didn't Johnson do that and put it in a general fund?
Yeah, we've been spending that money for years.
Yeah, we haven't never had a balanced budget. When they were saying back in the Clinton years that we had a balanced budget, we had a surplus. We didn't have a surplus. They were taking the money out of the trust funds.
Or as Al Gore said, they were putting IOUs in the lockbox.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they were doing.
You mean to tell me that Newt Gingrich never really balanced the budget?
Technically,
no.
He did. In reality, no.
That's his claim to fame.
Well, when Newt was Speaker and John Kasich was Chairman of the Budget Committee, they produced a budget that was balanced. But I think they continued to use Social Security money as if it were regular tax revenue.
Exactly. They just included it in the balancing process because there was a surplus that was being generated in the trust funds. And so by including that in the accounting, that basically it said you had a balanced budget.
So you're saying they've used fuzzy math?
They always have. What do you mean? You don't expect that. They do things accounting-wise in our federal government. If you did it in the private sector, you'd be in jail. That's a fact.
You
didn't go bankrupt first.
Well, that, first of all. And then you'd be in jail. It'd be like this. You would take all of your 401k money that all your employees invested in. You spent all that money. What do you think would happen to you in the private sector if you did that?
I had a couple of clients who tried that.
What if you borrowed? Say, well, I borrowed it. I gave them notes for all that. I'm paying them 1% interest a year on their money. They'd have you up in front of Congress and they'd be severely chastising you over your actions.
Or you losing body parts, one or the other.
Well, you'd be in jail if you did that with your employees' money, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
like I said, I had a client who tried that, and he did go to jail.
Well, aren't they doing it then with their employees' money because we employ them? They are supposed to be accountable to us.
Well, yeah, but we keep electing people like Barack Obama.
I didn't do that. He's not my president.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. I will not claim him.
You wish he weren't.
I'm not claiming him, David.
I don't care whether you're claiming him or not. He's giving you fits right now.
Well, we're going to
I'm serious. The problem is partly us. We elect these people who spend more than they take in, and who devise programs for the purpose of getting themselves reelected. And you know the Republicans did this in the Bush years too, which is why I like the Tea Party.
Well, so do I. I think Tea Party is great. I think they've had a huge impact, and I think overall it's been a very positive impact. There's been some negatives that have come out of it here and there, but
yeah.
One of them was Harry Reid not losing his election. I think he should have been beaten, but that's unfortunate.
I agree.
And I think they're having an impact, and they'll continue to have an impact, and that's good.
Well, like everything else in the Tea Party, there are radicals, and not all of them are really great, but
that's true.
But the majority are.
Well, yeah, they do have the anarchist wing.
Yes, they do. In Arizona, as a matter of fact. Randy had something he wanted to tell everyone tonight before we closed.
Oh, well, when we close tonight, we're going over to my house. This is my wife's birthday, and I think she's 35 today. I think she's 35 today, at least that's what I was told to say. Okay, so it's happy birthday to Catherine.
That's right.
Happy birthday, Catherine.
Catherine, and we're not going to sing. We're going to do you a favor.
I believe I might just have to when we close, I might just have a little drink on that.
Have a little Oban.
Catherine, yes, right.
Well, you can have two. You can have one for my birthday and one for Catherine's.
I'll do it.
I mean, we don't want to twist your arm or anything, David.
Oh, twist. Hey, I got one other thing up before we close. We did today. I got to get my Republican lawyer's hat on. We had a voter ID summit today.
Great.
We had about 20 organizations in to talk about voter ID. If you haven't noticed, in the last month, the Democrats have started an assault on voter identification requirements, photo ID in particular. Wasserman Schultz came out and said it was Jim Crow. 16 senators wrote to Eric Holder telling him to investigate it for civil rights, investigate voter ID for civil rights violations. Jesse Jackson was on the stump today, and Bill Clinton last week. It's an all-out assault. So 14 states have passed voter ID in the last year, and it's simply because Republicans have gotten elected. The lesson we need to learn for Washington, too.
Well, we did that in 2004 here in Arizona. We have voter ID required.
Well, the Democrats have just awakened to the fact that we're making a lot of headway on that, and they are mounting a counterattack.
Well, they want to have same-day registration as voting. That's a disaster every place they have it. They lose control over the process, and that's exactly what they're looking for. The unions would love to be able to bus in a bunch of people from out of state to the vote, and there's not much you can do about it once you do that.
Absolutely right. But they rely on massive turnout, and any kind of voter ID impedes massive turnout.
Well,
people, you're only supposed to have eligible voters voting, and when all you care about is how many people you get to the polls, registered or not, voter ID bothers you, and it bothers Democrats.
That's one of the.
I had to get that little commercial in.
I think but you know what? That is so important because we have an important election coming up next year, and the Democrats are going to do everything they can to get every Democrat vote they can get in the election. And of course, they always yell at Republicans that somehow we're the ones that are the problem. But it's like everything else. We just have to stand up and say, no, we're not the problem. You're the problem. You want to basically turn our system upside down for your own benefit.
Well, you heard that Obama says that they will no longer be called illegal immigrants. They're called new voters.
Exactly. In Arizona, it's they shut down the registration process 29 days before the election. But the problem is that 3 days after they shut down registration, they start the early voting. So what happens even here in Arizona, there's like a last-minute flood of registrations that go in and early voter requests, which overwhelm the county recorders here, and so they're struggling trying to get it done. So they're working it every possible way they can to try to overcome the system.
And the left simply doesn't care about any of those problems. They just want to take advantage of them.
That is true.
And Randy, we're sure that this whole push by Clinton and Jackson and the DNC chairman is all the beginning of the push for 2012.
No doubt. I'm sure that's what it's all about. It's always politics. That's what they do on Capitol Hill and the White House. So no surprise there.
Did you want to do Obama's quote?
Oh, you want to do Obama's quote?
I don't remember it.
Oh, we'll do it next time.
Randy,
you guys keeping secrets from me?
No.
We're talking about you, David.
Well, there's that quote out there about Obama saying, well, if I don't get this problem solved with the economy, it looks like there might be a new president in 4 years. And
he said if he didn't fix the economy in 3 years, it would be a whole new proposition. There would be a new president.
Hallelujah. Your lips to God's ear.
That's true. Thank you very much, David. We enjoyed having you. You're welcome anytime.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Happy birthday.
Since the only way I can get close to you is on the radio.
Come to CPAC.
I will. I'll be seeing you. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing